Much love, everybody. So, we are taking a most ambitious journey today, delving into Immanuel Velikovsky's electric universe theory, uh, which its most recent permutations have been taken up by the Thunderbolts project. Also, I find Rex Spear and the Leak project has a lot of really good work around the Squatterman theory. Squatterman is a very common petroglyph found around the entire globe. Various cave drawings and cave art has a man in a squatting position of some variation in these two orbs under his elbows, at his hips. This also reminds me of the story of um, I believe it's Jacob wrestling an angel, and the angel strikes him on the hip and gives him the Denmark death touch and paralyzes him and vanquishes him in a battle. This definitely was is the story of the battle of the gods in the heavens, and the changing of the guard, if you will, in Greek mythology. Also, another common glyph that is often depicted in the same areas will be the ladder, Jacob's ladder, they call it. Jacob's ladder. All of these are very likely electric discharges from large heavenly bodies moving and releasing electromagnetic tension as these dynamic shifts took place in the skies above us. And oftentimes, because there is something of a humanoid figure expressed in these discharges, our ancient ancestors anthropomorphized the stories and turned them into the mythos that we have today. The changing of the guard, going from Uranus to Kronos to Zeus, and the passing of the crown, and the who takes the alpha position in the pantheon of the heavens. So this is essentially the convergence of two systems. You have a heliosphere, which is a plane, a rotating disk or plate, and it converged with a columnal axial alignment. And this axial alignment was Neptune, Earth, Mars, Saturn, and I put Uranus here. And that is not necessarily true to Velikovsky's theory or the Thunderbolts. That's kind of my add-on. The axial the axial tilt of Uranus does not fit these categories. Part of the reason why these are together is because of their axial tilt, all of which are very proximal to that 25-degree tilt. All the other planets in the heliosphere are much more proximal to the sun's axial tilt. Sun is 7 degrees. Mercury, I've actually heard 0.1 degree, but I put 2 degrees because I've seen that as the axial tilt of Mercury. And the axial tilt of Jupiter is 3 degrees. And this indicates to me and to the electric universe theory, it indicates that these planets have been in alignment for much longer. They hold more true to the dynamics of the solar system from a more ancient time. And these variations of axial tilt indicate that they are younger and newer to the system, yet to conform to the regularity of the flow of things in the solar heliosphere. And you will notice that Venus is missing. And the reason Venus is missing is because she is the newest addition to the entire system. She was not present at the converging. And in Greek mythology, the birthing of Venus is expressed in the reign of Zeus, when Zeus has a splitting headache, and I believe it is Athena who is born out of his head. His head splits open, and Athena comes from his skull, and that is the great red spot of Jupiter, where I believe Venus punctured through and was born out of Jupiter, and came into the system and wreaked all kinds of havoc for a whole nother chapter and a whole nother story, a whole nother day. But I put all the the axial alignments out in these black, so you can see the consistency of the columnal alignment, which has much to do with the Golden Age. When we were in this alignment, Earth was experiencing a Golden Age. This could be considered the Garden of Eden. This could be considered, the Fool card, living outside of time, before we entered into cyclical time, where all days and all nights, there was no day or night. There was only a purple dawn. And you can look up the term purple dawn. It does describe that golden age. And as the approach of this column became nearer and nearer to the sun, to Hilarion, or the sun, there was a golden hue began to penetrate through the shield of the purple dawn, and that golden hue made something of a crescent or a smiling face on Kronos. And you will notice in Greek mythology, before Kronos consumes one of his potential heirs, he gets a smile on his face, and he has a vision of this potential usurper before he consumes his own children. And I do believe that has very much to do with this purple dawn and Saturn being much larger in those days, actually literally eating and consuming bodies that would enter into the this protective barrier, the shroud, and Saturn would gain size, would gain power. So this is also metaphorically expressed in many stories, such as Daniel 2 of the Bible, where there is a story of a gigantic statue, a tower of a man who was golden, silver, brass, iron and clay. And you will notice that quicksilver is the element of Mercury. Silver is often describing Zeus, the shining one. This is also the Nakash. These bands on Jupiter go in two different directions. There's bands and chords, and the bands go one way and the chords go the opposite way. Many metaphors are used to describe the nature of Jupiter, but the snake is one, because the snake holding the egg, because these bands are constantly moving incredibly fast. That eye rotates the whole planet in 10 hours. It's pretty amazing how quick Jupiter is moving. So gold on the statue would be the sun casting golden light, which would have created this shadow on Saturn. Silver does describe both Mercury and Jupiter, which were of the original older systems, with this 7, 2, and 3 degree axial tilt, indicating that they are more conformed. They were there first. They all hold more balanced to the plane of the ecliptic. And the fact that all of the planets in this column have a very proximal axial tilt indicates that they all come from a separate system and have not conformed. I also like to think of, I put Uranus here above Saturn. We would not have been able to see it. We were able to see Mars sitting at the North Pole, and just beyond Mars we would be seeing the rim of Saturn. And as Saturn approached Helion, or the heliosphere, there was a much electrical discharge as a result coming off here between Saturn and Mars, and that would have been, part of the reason why these electrical squatter man images would be visible to our ancient ancestors here on Earth, and maybe as it got closer and closer, slowly over time, may have been the cause of Venus being birthed out of Jupiter and careening into the columnal alignment and causing this extreme spark discharge on the other side of Mars and giving amazing visions such as Venus stepping out of the shell and onto the Earth, which is famous in many artistic works throughout history. So real quick, just to put everything, bring it together. I know there are vast leaps of logic going on here, but Zeus is, has the Zeus, a very serpentine sound, the very name, but also it's a very electrical sound. The serpent has a hissing voice, and electricity also has a zzz sound to it. As well, the shapes that electricity and lightning makes all have everything to do, I believe, with the stairs, the Jacob's ladder, and also the fact that, as I mentioned, Zeus has bands and chords going in different directions. The opposing directions of the clouds of Jupiter also lend to Janus having two faces, facing in two directions. The fact that clouds go east and west in opposition. The betrayer, Judas being two-faced, having a kiss of betrayal. This mouth puckered up, making the sound, the spark, the discharge. So Immanuel Velikovsky, one of his many theories that were confirmed a little too late, but he predicted that Jupiter would have immense radio waves being emitted from it, and it was once someone else proved him correct that Einstein actually conceded to Immanuel Velikovsky's theories and tried his best to get a blank check to Immanuel Velikovsky so that they could confirm his works. So one last point I want to make is that I do believe that the Monas Hieroglyphica of John Dee, with the Luna, Sol, Elementa, and Ignis, all of these symbols play a very strong role in maintaining the mythology of this columnal alignment. It is the 1 and it is the 0. It has the crown, it has this the moon shape, that crescent that is predicting, it's like the light bulb coming on in the head. It's predicting the approach of something grand, seeing into the future. It has the 4 elements with this T cross, which is much like Earth, and all of the elements of gold, silver, brass, and iron, all merging with clay. And this Ignis here, could even be considered the sign of water, down here with Neptune. So I know I was taking vast strides in logic, and I hope that this has some sense of substance in your mind. But I want to point out this Hegel quote again. Hegel said, "The state is God marching on earth." And I believe that the squatter man image is etched into the consciousness of humanity. Whether you've seen these petroglyphs or not, the idea of a large electrical God-man in the sky is kept alive forever in our stories and myth. And I believe that this electrical discharge was the birth of much enlightenment to our ancestors. Going back to Descartes' quote, "I think, therefore I am." I think, therefore I am. And all of this dynamic storytelling gives the elders, those who came before us and those who knew the nature of the place we are in, it keeps their wisdom immortal and is the reason we have the ability to think whatsoever. I hope that was informative, if nothing else. Much love and strength, everyone. Peace.